Utah. This is the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast with your hosts, Joseph DeGollier and Caleb Schweitz. This is Ultima Final Fantasy.
Welcome to another episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the ultimate, sort of ultimate Final Fantasy podcast. I am your host, Caleb.
I am your other host, Joe. How could you ever say sort of ultimate?
Look, man, I didn't start this. Someone else did. I'm just reiterating what they said.
All right, and I'm sure we'll get to that later.
Of course.
In the show.
So today we're going to be talking about the mythic origins of the summons again. Haven't done this segment for a little while, and I always enjoy learning about where shit comes from, so It should be a lot of fun. But
shit comes from your bum.
It does, but first it was food. Let's be clear. But before we get into that, where are you in after years?
Well, I have finished Rydia's quest.
Wrong podcast there. You're to be all British. So.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
I was like, what
Australian.
the fuck are you talking about?
All right, so you finished off Rydia's.
Yeah, I finished off Rydia's quest. So I'm only 2 quests deep into the game. I'm having real scheduling problems right now. I'll be honest. And there's an iTunes review later, and we'll. I think we'll also explore that a little bit too.
Yeah, I think we can.
Yeah. It's just school and work are just not cooperating right now, so the time that I get to play the game is basically in between classes, and so
don't cry.
So I've been having troubles, but I am enjoying what I've played so far. But I'll definitely try to finish it within the next 2 weeks.
All right, yeah, that's the plan as of right now, guys, is to have this one done in the next couple of weeks. Now we know what happens when we rush a game, but this is a little different. This one's not as long, and I don't know, it's easier to follow where we're at in life.
It's not a tough game so far. Now I know further
there's
on
been some brutal parts though.
And the Rydia stuff was a lot rougher than the Theodore stuff. But
yeah,
man, it doesn't seem like that tough of a game so far.
No, and I mean, there's a lot of it that we just get. I don't know, we've been in a place of ease, I feel, in the last little while with the series. There's been a lot of games that weren't really that tough. Sure, there'd be tough parts in 13, but you got the retry option, so
right.
You just retry. 14, we only lost some dungeons like a couple times. It was a rare occasion for us to get outed by a dungeon in that game, so that was never really a problem. Then we jump into this, and all of a sudden, everything matters. It's like you don't have any potions, you don't have any guild, you go into a dungeon.
Yeah, that's true.
And the game it sets out to destroy you, but
that's true. The Rydia stuff was especially tough for the first half because there is no white mage, and I didn't buy potions until way later when I realized my mistake.
Yeah, that does make it tough, and
so like it was rough. There's a doll character, I guess, and one of their special moves is about 2 out of 3 times she'll cast a cure on the whole party.
Yeah, and sometimes
she will. Like that's what I had to spam.
Yeah, that's when I found that one. I started using it a lot, but for the most part, it is you heavily rely on items for that quest.
Yeah.
I just barely finished Edge's Tale, so
what is that? All 8?
No, I've
7.
I think I've got 2 more. I've got Cain and I've got Edgar. So I've done 6.
All right. So we're both going in order, right?
Yeah, we're going straight down the line on the within the game itself. So
okay.
I don't know, that seems like the way to do it, and it's kind of cool so far with After Years. I mean, all the stories, they're all like interconnected. You'll see like a character that you played as and became a frog to go sneak into a secret meeting, and then you'll play as one of the characters in that meeting, and like the little frog guy will show up and like go hide in the wall where you hid.
That's cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of spots.
I haven't gotten to that stuff yet, but that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's all connected, and I think that's a lot of fun.
It's kind of, I mean, we've talked about this for a couple weeks now, but it is so odd going from 14 back down to
Back down to 4.
Back down to basically 4. Like, I know it's a newer game, and a lot of people have talked about it being like a bad fan fiction version of Final Fantasy IV, like a sequel to it. I don't feel that way so far.
No, I mean, it does seem like it's playing off of the story very heavily.
It really does feel like an old Super NES game. Like, that's what it feels like, and it's refreshing, and it's kind of like, we've had 2 episodes now, just barely. Last week we had the ill-titled Final Fantasy series episode. I did not come up with the title, but
I think it's a solid title.
I feel like it's a title we could use way further down the road.
Well, let's see.
And then, of course, we had our Season 1 wrap-up, and it's... I don't know, it's just cool seeing, like, the development of Final Fantasy and then going back and being like, oh, yeah, like, we've been looking at the stuff through the eyes of, like, a mirror that every day we go past, or not a mirror, but a window, that every day we go past that window, it gets foggier and foggier, the window into our past of playing these games, and this is just clearing it all up.
Yeah, this is us, like...
Oh yeah, this is what these games used to be like. So
yeah, no, and it's been a lot of fun, but yeah, I'm excited to get to the part where apparently all the parties that you're playing as, they come together as one, and you get all the abilities that you learned, all the items, they all get combined into one giant pool. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty pumped for that, and to see what kind of party customization I could pull off. I'm not sure how many of these characters I can use. I would assume most of them, because there are special bonds between, just random characters within After Years, and I would really hope that those stay true once we get to the main party thing, and we just have this massive party.
Hey, thanks for following.
Yeah, awesome.
I didn't realize that stuff was going to go during the episode twice.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, huh?
Yeah, it's a little scary.
So yeah, that was our... Sorry, guys, for those of you on the podcast. We have this little app thing that just does the noise whenever someone follows us
on Twitch.
Yeah, so anyway... yeah, I'm excited for that. Excited to pool together all the many times I've gathered the same treasures. That's another weird thing about After Years, is like I go into the dwarf castle in the underground area, and I can get like the same boxes over and over again with each new party. So I can just go keep raiding this shit, and just at the end I'm going to have this awesome stockpile.
Is that how it's going to work?
Yes.
I think you should disable that during episodes.
Yeah,
but thank you for the follow.
Anyway, but that's how it's going to work, I think, and I'm going to have all that stuff, and it's going to be great.
Sweet. Well, let's do some plugs real quick before we go on to news. You can find us at youtube.com/Ultima Final Fantasy. You can tweet Caleb at UFF Podcast, and you can tweet me at Joseph DeGollier. That's DeGolyer. You can go to facebook.com/Ultima Final Fantasy, which, by the way, we always respond to the Facebook stuff, so get on there.
It's true, and either of us respond to it, but if you want to just talk to me, which is completely understandable, you can follow me at UFF Podcast.
They already know that. I already told them.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
really?
I did.
Oh, whoa, I'm sorry. I was busy disabling the Twitch thing. Corrections time.
You can go to Patreon and support us there. Just search Ultima Final Fantasy, and special thanks to our Patreon donors. You guys are... Thanks.
Yeah, it really helps.
Twitch.tv/Ultima Final Fantasy, where we stream the episodes live every Saturday, and you can go to our forums, which is kind of our big place to go, ultimafinalfantasy.com, and just click on the forums tab, and there's lots of things to explore.
Oh yeah, it's been pretty intense now that we've combined our other shows that we do onto that same forum. There's been a lot of activity, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
a lot of carryover from our listeners, so... the stuff we're interested in happens to be the same stuff that a lot of them are interested in. So,
all right.
Conversation.
So, shall we get to news, Schweiss?
Yeah, we got some news. News. All right. So first up in news, there is a mobile Final Fantasy IX version out, which we might have already talked about, but. As a reminder, it's on the App Store for Android, right? And it's $16.99. So if you want to play Final Fantasy IX on your phone, which... Well, it's iOS as well.
Yeah, it's iOS as well? Okay. It's $16.99 till February 21st, and then it'll probably go up from there. But It's kind of weird looking at this. Like, did you ever think there was going to be a day when Final Fantasy IX would be on your phone?
It's not too surprising considering that we have games like Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas on iOS and mobile.
Well, I wouldn't have seen that coming either.
That's more surprising to me than Final Fantasy IX, but it is kind of crazy that they're just throwing them on the mobile market, which I think is great. That makes it more accessible to a lot of people. And 9 is one of the ones that, a lot of people really love, and it's this big throwback. But then again, a lot of people missed it because of, the PS2 coming out and other various reasons. So this is kind of a great way to get more people interested in Final Fantasy IX. And of course, this iOS version of the game does have a couple additional features. It's got achievements, which of course I'm always interested in.
Okay.
It's got some game boosters, the standard, high speed mode, no encounter mode, a couple more.
High speed mode is needed for that game.
It is, and autosave I think is kind of cool. Although 9 wasn't the most difficult game in the world, it would be nice to have
Did we have problems with saves in 9? Like, was there not enough saves? I don't remember that being an issue.
Not really, but it wasn't like FF3 mode either, where I could just exit out, get back in, sort of a deal. And apparently
no memo saves from the old NES game.
Oh god, I loved the fucking memo saves, dude. So good. Oh my god, I could go off all day about those. And then some more HD movies and character models. So that'll be cool. If you don't have Final Fantasy IX, go pick it up. And of course, it is planned. The Steam. Oh, wait, never mind.
Didn't the Steam already come out?
I think it did. Yeah, that article's old.
Yeah, that article's all screwed up.
But if you want to get it on Steam, it's on there as well. I don't know. I'd probably rather have it on Steam, but then again, if you're on the go, yeah.
So a new website opened. I guess it's kind of a teaser for Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy Arcade. And so apparently there's going to be an event at the Japanese Amusement Expo for this game. So I guess we'll find out more information then. I'm so confused by all the arcade stuff. Dissidia Arcade and Theater Rhythm Arcade.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we were talking about this before the episode when we checked out this article, and it almost seems like there's this weird retro movement going on in Japan where they're like, bring back arcades. Because out here in the in the West, there's like what, a couple arcades, 3 or 4 in the state.
Here in Utah, there might be half a dozen.
Yeah, there's not very many. I mean, we're not a very populated state, but
there's one here in Provo. There's one in Orem. And that's all I know about, but I assume there's more as you go up towards Salt Lake.
Yeah, normally what happens is there's just arcade games in random locations like movie theaters, places where you
like
wait
the dentist office, which is probably where I played the most arcade.
I played some Super NES stuff at my dentist office before.
Nice.
Yeah, that was always fun. But I don't know. I think it's just some movement that's happening. We're going to have to look into that a little more.
Some retro-y sort of thing, I guess.
Yeah, going back to the roots.
Yeah, if someone knows more information on the new Japanese arcade retro movement, unless I mean, it could be that in Japan, like, the 90s never happened in Japan, and so like arcades are still popular. That could be possible, but I wouldn't know anything about that. So
yeah, I don't know.
If any of you guys have information on that, I'd like to know.
From our perspective, it's just strange.
Yeah, and another website teaser was also opened up.
These guys are just hogging all the URLs, aren't they?
So Final Fantasy 15, they've opened an official Japanese language blog for the Final Fantasy 15 development. Apparently there's only a greeting message on there right now, but if you want, you can click on the next tab there, Schweiss. You can go to, and I kid you not, this is the website as of right now, mypage.member.jp.square-enix.com/18.
Well,
and enjoy that blog if you know Japanese.
Yeah,
if you got a good Google Translate on
yeah, there's literally only one post as of right now.
World of Final Fantasy, they've added Quistis, so that's kind of cool. If you're gearing up for World of Final Fantasy, when is that supposed to be released? I can't remember. I know it's this year sometime. It's sometime
this year. I don't know. It's due for PS4 and Vita.
I'm still not sure about it. I'm not sure about the whole...
The chubby
thing.
The chubby. I don't know. You don't think Quistis is hot right there?
I think
it's kind of freaky.
Yeah, it's
because of how hot Quistis is to us. That just makes it uncomfortable. And of course, Final Fantasy XIV's The Gears of War, or Gears of Change trailer gives us a preview of patch 3.2. It's like an 8-minute trailer.
Yeah, so we're not going to watch the 8-minute trailer, but if you're interested, yeah, there's a new patch for Final Fantasy XIV, and apparently it's got some cool stuff on it.
Yeah, that Alexander looked pretty intense. He looks like a scary motherfucker in this game.
Yeah, so Schweiss, that's it for news. We do have a we have a, instead of a remix,
yeah,
we have a word from our sponsors, a new podcast from a couple of our listeners called Playing the Home Game.
Oh.
All right, so if you guys want to check that out, it's Playing the Home Game, and here's the commercial.
All right, so first we speak to Twitch. And thank you for the follows. Unfortunately, we had to cut it off because I was not expecting to get rocked by those mid-episode. High-speed FF9 would be amazing. Yeah, I agree. That's really one of the only complaints I had about 9, that and the trance system, as far as the battle goes. FF9 is on Steam. Just checked. Still says early 2016 for release date. Oh, isn't on Steam. I was like,
okay.
Chibi Quisty, I know.
Oh, God, if it's not on Steam, we're going to have a correction if we don't say something right now. Can you check Steam right now to see if it's on there?
Yeah, I can do that.
So is it on Steam or is it not?
I'm going.
Because he says it's on Steam, but it says early.
But it's not released is what it is.
2016 release. Okay.
It's fucking multi-factor authentication that I signed up for.
Why did you do that?
Let's get more points.
Seriously, why did you do that?
To get points.
What did the points give you?
More levels. More XP.
Do they give you games?
No.
Well, then why the fuck?
Because I love it. Just don't worry.
Yeah, double check on that FF9.
Fucking no one wants your NBA.
It says early 2016. Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's on Steam. It is on Steam. You just can't buy it yet.
You just can't buy it. Okay.
And we announced the fact that it's coming to Steam before.
We announced. I thought that it already was on Steam, and I said that.
Oh, is that what you said?
Yeah. So before someone goes on and butt fucks us with corrections, let's correct it. Okay.
All right. So we're just gonna go into conversation.
All right, so real quick correction. Final Fantasy IX is slated for early 2016 on Steam, but it has not yet arrived.
Yeah, so it's on there, but it's not on there at the same time. You can just pre-buy it, essentially, at this point.
So, Mythic Origins of the Summon, Schweiss. What do you have prepared for us today?
All right, so first up, my favorite in Final Fantasy X, or at least one of my favorites, Yojimbo.
Woo!
It translates directly from Japanese into bodyguard. And,
okay.
Yeah, as I
see, I know Yojimbo from the movie Yojimbo. Like, I know that word from the movie Yojimbo.
Yeah.
In case any of you guys don't know, I think Yojimbo was it's either 50s or early 60s.
Early 60s.
Is it early 60s? Okay.
I believe so, yeah.
It's a Japanese samurai film by Akira Kurosawa, and it's basically it's not even basically, it's exactly the same movie as A Fistful of Dollars.
Yes.
So if you know A Fistful of Dollars starring Clint Eastwood, that is Yojimbo. Mm-hmm. Apparently when Sergio Leone wanted to do a western and base it quote unquote on Yojimbo, he ripped off the entire film.
There's some legitimate shot by shot. Got
sued for it. And I guess Toho and Akira Kurosawa got quite a bit of money off of the success of A Fistful of Dollars. But the original film, I think, is actually even better. Yojimbo. It stars Toshiro Mifune, and it's just fantastic. And actually, when I see the Yojimbo animation in Final Fantasy X, there's something about it that reminds me of
that movie.
Of
Sanjiro's character.
Yeah, and honestly, like, Oron, I think, is typecasted from the character
He is, yeah.
Sanjuro, who is the main character of Yojimbo.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's pretty awesome. I mean, I don't know, the usage of bodyguard is a little odd, but I do think it is effective because you do have to purchase Yojimbo's services in Final Fantasy X. You got to pay him quite a bit of money, and then you have to continue paying the guy while you have him to use his moves. He's got like a 4-move set. So
he gouges you.
He does. He's a pricey bastard. Diagoro, which is the dog that Yojimbo has with him, will attack during the weakest of the attacks. He's got a Kozuka attack, which is where he throws multiple knives at enemies, and then Wakizashi is the air slicing attack. That one's pretty sweet, but nothing comes close to Zanmato.
More information on our Final Fantasy X review about Zanmato.
Oh yes, lots of Zanmato. This is basically his ultimate attack, the ultimate attack in the whole game, and it's borrowed from Zantetsuken, or however you pronounce that, in Final Fantasy VIII Odin, and then Odin during other games has this move where it's just essentially an insta-kill, unless it's done to your party, of course, and then you can survive, but anyone else, and they're dead.
Yes.
And it was kind of, to me, when I first saw that it was translated into bodyguard, it made sense, but at the same time, I was almost thinking like Sentinel, so it was almost like they're honor bound. Whereas Yojimbo in this game, he is just a paid hire.
You know what? And I really do think it's a reference to the movie more than it is about the word Yojimbo.
I think so too, because it's
a very popular film. It's not just like film students that have to go in and dig deep for Yojimbo. It's
yeah, and it makes sense because Yojimbo, multiple people can summon him, so he is for sale. And in the movie, he's for sale all over the place. He just plays everybody to get the most money possible.
Yeah.
So I feel like it is a great carryover from the movie to Final Fantasy X.
It is, and really, like Oron's character on top of the Yojimbo summon
is the same.
He's totally like the Toshiro Mifune kind of archetyped. Like, that's what he's playing. It's crazy. Like, really, guys, if you haven't checked out those movies, I'm sure you can find it at the library or something like that. Like, Yojimbo. Like, it's awesome. And it has a lot to do with Final Fantasy X. Or 10 has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
It's a great one.
And I saw it during the movie, and we might have even talked about this on the Final Fantasy 10 review, or during the game, I mean. As I was like, Oron is...
You did.
Is that guy. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's cool. It's cool, though.
Good stuff. All right, so the second one I have is Phoenix, which is, as we all know...
Thank God for you.
Yeah, as we all know, it's a Greek fire creature that is said to rise from its own ashes of death. And it's supposed to be around every 500 years that it lives out its lifespan. And honestly, Phoenix... really, for me, I would say is one of the most useful summons in the series, but I really didn't find myself using it very often. I'm not really sure why that is, but whenever I did use it, I was like, oh yeah, this thing's amazing. Like,
I used it in 5, I think, quite a bit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I know I used it in 8 at least 2 or 3 times, and in 7, I feel like I don't know, did you ever use it in 8? I thought the animation in 8 was pretty cool.
I don't remember using it in 8 on this playthrough, no.
Well, we kind of... I had a little bit harder of a time doing the cheap method of playing 8. It was odd at first, so I used him a bit. But, I don't know, I feel like the resurrection ability is fucking awesome. And it obviously has a great reference to the legend of the Phoenix. Reborn from your death.
That's pretty obvious, and a lot of people know like what the Phoenix is. I think actually more to do with Harry Potter recently than...
You think so?
Than like people knowing what a Phoenix is.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, it's a very popular book series, but so you didn't... I really haven't used Phoenix in a long time, so...
I remember using him in 5. I would use him in 5. I would use Golem in 5.
Yeah, Golem was pretty legit.
There was other creatures I would use in 5. 5 I used the summons, I think, the most, because I wanted to beat the guy with the Bahamut summon.
Yeah.
I remember. And so I did have full strategies using summons in 5.
Actually, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, so did I. I pulled out a lot of them to get me those early buffs and those big fights.
Yeah, they get you the buffs, and Golem gets you like some attack stuff that like you reflect attacks or something. I can't
It's like
exactly remember what he does, but I remember using him a lot.
It's almost like Protect is what it does.
Yeah, okay.
He like bounces some of the attack off. But speaking of Golem, that happens to be...
way!
Yeah, that happens to be the next one I chose for today. So this one's pretty interesting. It's actually from Jewish mythology. A golem, as we know, is a mud creature that is brought to life when a righteous person...
Do we know this?
Right. I knew it was a mud creature that is supposed to come to life. I didn't know this part of it, though. When a righteous person writes emet on it, which means truth, that is when this golem comes to life. And the most popular golem, which is the one that everyone considers, golem, was created by Rabbi Judah Low in order to defend the Jews of the Prague ghetto from anti-Semitic attacks, mainly from the blood libel, which this is a theory where Jews were accused of kidnapping and murdering Christian children to use their blood as part of their religious rituals during their holidays. It's crazy, but they...
where was this?
This is all over Europe. Prague, Germany, stuff like that. But there was this weird cultish thing, because they did use animal blood for certain practices, but I don't know, for some reason people thought they were using humans as well, and so the legend goes that he brought to life the Uber Golem
in the Prague ghetto. Really?
Yeah, that's where this guy
wow,
this guy hails from. So yeah, it's kind of cool, and I don't know, it is a lot of mythos behind that, but I think it's pretty interesting, and it does fit with how we see Golem in Final Fantasy V. I mean, because he does, when we find him, I think it's interesting because he's getting attacked. He's getting jumped by these creatures, and he's like, hey, help me. So, I mean, maybe that's sort of a callback to the oppression that they were experiencing in the area, and then by helping Golem, by bringing him to life, so to speak, he then helps you against that oppression. So maybe that's some sort of a connection. That might be a little loose, but...
It is a little loose, but my mind is blown about this story. I've never, ever heard this. So.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, all I knew was that, like I said, that golems were rock creatures, basically.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, Golem is some sort of a live rock thing.
Yeah,
and of course, the Lord of the Rings.
Well, yeah.
Golem.
A little bit different.
A little bit different,
but a purpose in life.
That's where my mind goes to.
Yeah, so I mean, that guy, I don't really, mostly just 5. I mean, I know he's...
yeah, FF5 is useful.
I think that's the only one that I can think of that I remember him being in.
He must have been in others. Or there's Titan in others, and Titan has a similar
Titan
look.
is the...
Is he the new Golem?
No, Titan's got a much different...
Titan's more of an attack creature as opposed to a defense.
No, he is, and then he's also sort of a Greek-based creature. I mean,
so yeah, in this, he is a sort of defense-y type. In the legend there with Rabbi Judah Low, he is sort of a defense thing. So
a defender of the righteous, so to speak.
That makes total sense. And then if you want another rock summon in future Final Fantasy games that does a quake attack or something like that, I guess you would choose something like Titan. And maybe someday we'll go into Titan, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, Titan is one of the... we'll go into it later. I don't want to spoil anything. But, anyway, I don't know. With these summons, I think it is pretty cool. They kind of pick and choose, as we've said before, what part of the mythology they want to keep, and then what part they kind of just shove out of the way. And
right.
for the most part, the ones that we looked at today, they used pretty much everything that was given to them, and they processed it in a very accurate way. Now, there are obviously one-offs, like Shiva is very different looking than what she looks like in Final Fantasy, not even close.
Right.
She's got like tons of arms, and all this weird shit, no ice necessarily associated with her. It's just this beast physical attack. And then I don't know, then you've got ones like Quetzalcoatl or Golem, and they're just perfect matches. So I think it's interesting, and I almost want to get an interview with Square and find out like what exactly goes into them choosing it. Is it more the name?
They've reused so many of them that at this point it probably is just the name.
It's just the name now.
Yeah. And then they're like, well, this is what he did in this game. So, like, you know how they're doing the summons in 15? Like, they're pretty much the summons that we've been used to, that we've seen so far.
Yeah.
And they're calling them that, but they're figuring out a new version of that summon. I think they're just doing that from now on.
You don't think there's going to be any new summons?
In the early days, it made more sense, but now there's such a rich history of Final Fantasy that, like, I don't know, if they brought in a new summon and then didn't put in other summons,
You think people would get upset?
like maybe they didn't put Bahamut in the next game.
Oh, that'd be brutal. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would not be okay.
And they chose instead to do Enkidu as a summon, right?
Oh, that'd be sweet.
Like, they just chose a different mythological figure, and we'd be like, well, where's Bahamut? What is this Enkidu guy?
Yeah, that's true.
And what new element would Enkidu bring? Like, they've covered everything I could think of, but then again, there's probably other things out there.
Well, I think it'd be kind of cool if in 15 they brought back some of these crazy, ones like Crusader from FF6, these one-shot summons that we saw for 1 or 2 games and then we just haven't seen again. I think that'd be cool to revisit some of those. And it would appeal to mainstream to some extent, but it would also appeal to the more hardcore fans that remember these ancient summons that were just like one-time things, and maybe make them more useful, make them more memorable, so they do carry on.
Did we talk about Gilgamesh in another one of these episodes?
I think we mentioned Gilgamesh. Yeah.
Did we mention him? Okay.
We definitely need to do a full thing on Gilgamesh.
A full thing on Gilgamesh, because I've read Gilgamesh pretty recently, so like we could get into that.
Yeah, we could, and he's awesome in every Final Fantasy game he shows up in. So
yeah.
I think that would be a pretty fun section.
Mm-hmm. Let's say we do that next time we go into the mythic origins of the summons.
All right, we could do that.
Okay,
yeah.
Let's do that. All right, guys. Well, should we get to some questions?
Yeah, let's answer a few of those bad boys. But first, the Twitch.
And I gotta blow my nose really bad. FF Tactics has it, of course.
Oh, nice. Yeah, of course. Oh, we're gonna get rocked for that.
You guys didn't know?
Yeah.
Like the game that you haven't played, you didn't know?
That is good to know, though. Thank you, Rucksack. That's real nice there.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Getting the full experience.
It's like they're in the room.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, I could probably just do a whole Gilgamesh thing.
Yeah?
I don't need notes or anything. I got it down. I got that motherfucker down.
Damn it.
What?
The tactics thing.
I said I don't know. It's not that. We didn't say, oh, it's definitely not in any other Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, true.
So if they're gonna nitpick, they better nitpick right. All right. Not you on.
No, yeah, you guys are cool, but
we had some interesting stuff.
Yeah, we'll go into that though. We'll give them their fair share.
Their share fair.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Which ones do you want to do?
Thoughts on the scary Naga monster?
Yep. It's pretty scary.
Just thoughts? Just thoughts?
Yeah, that's simple.
It's not a question.
It's a conversation.
It's pretty cool though. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. I always like the Nagas. I just barely ran into him for the first time in after years.
Okay, that's for the forum.
That was the full. No, we don't need to.
Gameplay versus story. Wait, click on that. I want to look at it. I'm trying to remember what the original question was because a lot of people talked about it. Oh yeah, we answered that shit. That's for the forum. We had a whole fucking episode on it.
That's very true.
If compared to other series. Ooh.
Man, these are deep ones. All right, what is this? What do you mean with this? FF. Oh, well, we know what...
We've answered similar questions to this. I feel bad about not answering it, but we definitely have answered that.
Well, I don't see why we can't just touch it again.
I have nothing to say. So if you got something to say... I do like Batman's question a lot.
I'd love it if I could see it.
Okay. Alright, we can just do those three.
Alright, you good?
Them a little bit, and then we'll do corrections.
Yeah.
You want to make a corrections jingle today? It'll be pretty easy. I have an idea.
Alright, we could do that.
It'll be like 2 seconds long. We can do it after the episode's done.
Alright, well, let's get into some questions, guys. And as always, if you have some on the Twitch...
Ask them.
Yeah, ask them, because we only have a couple today, so
okay.
Why not? Yes.
All right, so what's our first question?
All right, so the first one up today is from Batman.
Leave that one for last.
Oh, fuck you. Why'd you even ask me
The
then?
longest answer for that one.
All right, fine. This one is the shortest answer.
You always do it in the right order when you click the tabs, but then on the most recent tab, you just don't want to click that one extra click.
No, I don't.
Back to the first
It's all
tab.
about the efficiency of the clicks.
Okay.
All right, so Shinru asks, thoughts on the scary FF15 Naga monster?
Whoa. Careful there.
So the Naga / Lamia FF monsters are back and scarier than ever. Do you think you might be scared if you're walking around at night and run into a large group of Naga enemies just in the wilderness that jump out of nowhere and to attack you? And what are your thoughts on 15 having some scary horror moments like FF7?
I don't know if FF7 really had any horror moments that I could think of.
I don't know. It's kind of a scary idea for some of it.
Yeah. I mean, we're looking at this GIF of the Final Fantasy 15 where Noctis is looking up and he sees the Naga, which looks like the Nagas in the other Final Fantasy games. Which
it does.
We haven't seen those things for a while.
I ran into one in the after years, and there's a bunch of
I ran into a couple in the after years.
Yeah, so I don't know. It looks really cool. I think it looks good.
Yeah.
If they wanted to go for more of a scare appeal, it probably would have been more hidden.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at the GIF, he's like clearly.
It has that sort of horror look where it's he's running around with the single flashlight. It's like Doom 3.
Yeah.
The single flashlight, and then suddenly there's the Naga monsters. I'll be honest though, like all my FF horror experiences have to do with me opening a treasure chest, and it's a monster in a box, which is my favorite. Let me tell you,
it's a monster in a box. A monster in a box, girl. Yeah, no, that's the worst, especially Shinru in a box. Let's be clear on that.
Okay,
FF5 that was fucked up. So yeah, no, I mean it looks great, but
it does look really cool. I don't remember coming across that in the demo at all. It's probably in the newest update of it. But yeah, it does look interesting. I wonder, I know nighttime has a lot. Nighttime is kind of important in Final Fantasy 15. And so I'm wondering how much that's going to factor into the game.
Into the gameplay.
Yeah.
I don't know, that'll be cool. It might be something similar to the moon.
And Nagas are creepy. If you don't know what they are, they're like snake things with a weird kind of Shiva-y
heads on them. Yeah. They're freakish, but
they're scary.
All right, so we have another one here from Minzara.
Sounds like a new forum member.
Yeah, it's a new name for me. FF compared to other series. This is going to be tough. What I mean by this question is, how does the FF series, in your opinion, hold up to other games? He personally thinks it's the best game series of all time, with FF7, Chrono Trigger, and FF6 being my favorite games of all time. And if it's not your favorite series of all time, what is?
Let's talk about it being the greatest series of all time. I don't think that is I don't think that's unfounded. even critically, though. Like, you know what I mean?
As far as how it's been revealed?
Yeah.
Or reviewed? Sorry, not revealed.
Sorry, I got a bit of a cold. I think maybe it might be compared a lot with Zelda, which neither of us have played very much.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be. But it is. A lot of people.
Well, if you're looking like all game series of all time.
Oh, yeah. I suppose.
Yeah. You're looking at Zelda, which almost every game in the Zelda series has been critically acclaimed. And I'd say almost every game in Final Fantasy has been critically acclaimed with like a few sticking out over the other.
Yeah. Other than the spin-offs.
And the Zeldas tend to age better. So, I don't know. But then again, I can't really have my opinion on Zelda, despite us trying to start a Zelda podcast and that not working out. I guess we could have told you at that point.
Yeah.
Then you have, what's another really critically acclaimed game series? You got Grand Theft Auto.
Metal Gear Solid.
I guess Halo.
Yeah, Halo would probably be thrown in there.
Yeah.
I know there's a bunch of other JRPGs and RPGs that people are going to get on us for not mentioning. The Elder Scrolls games, those are definitely very well received.
Well, not the first two.
Maybe not the first two, but once you hit Morrowind and on, they've been pretty awesome. I think Final Fantasy is probably my favorite, and the only one that would come close to that is Metal Gear Solid. And there's only like 5 or 6 games in the main series, but
yeah. So how's it even like?
How can you even compare?
What's another series with 14 main games?
Well, I haven't played any.
Maybe
other
Mario
ones with that many, at least not the full series. So it's a tough question to answer. But I feel like Metal Gear Solid, each game gets better and better, regardless. Like as far as I've played, it just gets better over time. And Final Fantasy, for the most part, does that, but there are a few trip-ups where it doesn't necessarily improve. It takes a dip, and then it improves.
Yeah, I would like to say that with our new podcast that's all video games called Nude Clan, which you can find on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts at, we will be exploring other game series.
Yeah, that's
me, Caleb, and then a couple other
individuals that show up to say a few words here and there.
We will be going through more stuff, and I think at that point I'd be able to
truly
answer this question a little bit more. But what do other people have to say on this?
All right, so Shinra says the FF series is in my top 5 favorite game series. Chocobo Chica.
Oh, Shinra, thank you for the news. I forgot to thank him for the news earlier.
Yeah, as always, thank you, man. Chocobo Chica says Final Fantasy is my favorite series. Some of my others would be Fallout, Gears of War, Katamari, Damacy. Those are fun.
That's a series? I thought there was just the one game.
There's like 3 or 4 at the very least. Right. GTA, Dynasty Warriors, Batman, Bioshock, Spyro, Tomb Raider. Bioshock's another great one too that we've talked about before.
I've only ever played the first Bioshock, and I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Oh, you'd love the third one for sure. Gabrant says Final Fantasy is also his favorite.
I mean, this is a Final Fantasy podcast.
So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit
that skewed. A lot of our listeners are going to, like, Final Fantasy is going to be their favorite thing.
And he does, like us, he has a hard time comparing it to non-RPG series. He's a huge fan of GTA, and, I don't know. He's got a lot of good stuff on here, but mostly Final Fantasy, as expected. And another one, the Suikoden series, I don't even know how to pronounce that.
Suikoden.
Those ones we've been hearing a lot of talk about, people really wanting us to play.
And I've never even seen a game cover of one of these.
I think I have, but I don't remember it being very cheap, so I was like, fuck that.
Yeah.
So yeah, he says that is one that contests with the second one in that series is one that he says contests with FF6 and 7. Okay. So that's some pretty high praise coming from a Final Fantasy forum, and his favorite series being Final Fantasy.
Bantram says the Souls series, so like Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne.
Yeah, if you want to get fucking rocked every 5 seconds.
And he's going to second the Bioshock series as also being like fantastic. Other masterpiece series, I guess.
All right. So. Yeah, the only one I would complain about in that is probably the second one. It gets repetitive gameplay wise, but it does improve the the combat system. So,
all right. So I do want to take a second to thank the new members. There's a lot of new members to the forum. this week. Yeah, have you noticed that? Like,
yeah, it's been pretty awesome.
A lot of new people. Like, I know it's kind of a jungle out there, but just start some subjects and respond, and you'll make some friends. So, be on there. It's good stuff.
Indeed it is. And speaking of new forum members, we do have another one.
Well, that's why I said that, because I saw, there's a new forum member here.
All right, so they say the series is tough to compare to the rest of gaming.
Stepper icon.
Yeah, Stepper icon. And I don't know, they said it used to be a trendsetter, but as of late it's kind of fallen into a lull, especially in the main series. And
I think it tries to set trends still.
Yeah, but I kind of see where it's coming from. Like, after 13, what other games came out that were really similar to 13? Like, I can't really think of any that were. That was when the big, wide open adventure RPGs like Skyrim and Oblivion and stuff like that were getting massive, and that was becoming the appeal. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Maybe there is some backbone to that.
Yeah.
It's an interesting concept.
Someone said the Tales of series. Are we having problems with the website right now?
I don't. Yeah, it's definitely not my internet.
Okay. All right. So Taku
Manzuki.
Takuwa Mazuki. Woo.
That's a mouthful.
Says a series that he probably loves more than Final Fantasy is the Tales series. I love the setting of those games and the general story that comes with it. And then Minzara, some other good series: Shining Force, Star Ocean, Kingdom Hearts, Disgaea, and Persona. A lot of people say Persona.
That's true. Legend of Zelda. See, Shining Force 1 and 2.
Okay.
Well, Cloud, maybe we will play it, even though it doesn't have anything to do with FF, because we have our other show.
Yeah, those are definitely some good ideas for other games to get into.
Yeah, and
on Nude Clan.
Yeah, we'll stick to the FF, or the should have been FFs for Ultima. But.
Yeah, exactly. Like this show needs to say pure. It needs to be what it is.
Yeah. I can second that.
If we were gonna change it around, we would have just retitled this show Nude Clan, but no, this show is the big show right now.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be the big show.
And it will always be the big show in my heart. And so
yeah, you're not gonna give it the super sexy treatment.
No, I'm not going to give this show the super sexy treatment.
Just
by the way, there was a interesting. I liked your guest that you had on last week.
Yeah, that guy.
Super sexy swinging fan fiction.
I don't know. I want to bring him on more, but hey, he's really busy, so I doubt it'll happen.
Yeah, probably not. But he's excellent stuff.
Yeah, he's passable. I'd say. All right, so we do have one more question here. This one is from Batman, titled Emotion and FF. I was wondering what you guys' thoughts are in regards to the effect your emotions have on how you view a Final Fantasy game.
I like what he says here. I just want to point that out before you read it.
All right. For example, someone might play FF8 and never really feel a connection to the story or characters, but if you take the same person and now give them a major crush on a high school sweetheart and have them play the same FF8 game...
Her name was Paige.
The story and characters may now strike a significant emotional chord and therefore have a much stronger impact. I know that personally, every time I turn on an FF game, it's like being in a time machine. I can usually remember a time and place or have some strong memory tied to each game. The games that tend to not rank highly on my list of favorite FF games are ones that I don't really have an emotional connection with. Anyway, I was just curious to hear your input on the subject and was also wondering whether you have a favorite game, FF or not, that you hold in high esteem due to an emotional connection.
As opposed to like a critical connection. You know what? I think he's exactly right about the connection between FF and like having a crush on someone when you're playing it.
You think so?
Because that way you can project like Renoa, whatever brunette that you have your eyes on, like Renoa shall become that person. You know what I mean? I guess, if you played it in junior high like I did. So...
I played it when I was in school.
So, I completely agree with what he's saying there. I completely agree with that, and I think I had a very similar experience to what he had.
Is that why your FF8 love is so nostalgic based, do you think? Is because of that?
Well, it was also my first Final Fantasy.
There's always that, but...
And I always had a crush on some girl. going on.
And since Renoa,
they were usually brunettes.
And since Renoa happens to be such a blank slate, is that what you're saying? You could project that girl onto that blank slate?
That's more true than I would like to admit.
Yeah, it is, because if you think about it, if you have a strong character with very strong ideals and a strong personality, you can't project anybody onto it, which is why the protagonists in these games are oftentimes not necessarily weak characters, but they're generic in a way that you could be that character. So
I actually think the stronger Final Fantasies aren't generic.
No, I agree with you. I think the ones that have...
But that is something that they do.
They do,
and
yes.
try to do. And I think 8, yeah, exactly. You're about to say it's a big example of that.
It is, and that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It is when if you were to go through and play the game not having any of those experiences, knowing who you are as a person, it's less, you can project less of yourself onto the game, less of the girl you're after or the whatever you're after onto the game. But I do think there is value in having it set up that way, because then you do have that emotional connection. You're like, I understand what's happening. I wouldn't react like Squall is, but I understand the situation because I've experienced it. I have this longing for this girl or whatever, but hopefully you don't treat her like Squall does and just ignore her for 90% of the game.
Oh, I did not.
Okay, see, but was Paige Renoa? Was she the same person in your eyes? Is it like a similar...
I probably projected my feelings of someone onto Renoa, and I think at that time it probably was Paige. In fact, I still have a crush on Paige. I don't know where she is. Like, I would like to know where she is.
Well, damn.
I would like, hey Paige, what are you doing? How's life treating you?
Yeah, and I can see that, and with the nostalgia, I feel like, I don't know, with the first FF games we always have a big connection to, because it's our first entry into this amazing series, but also our first played upon release FF games, I feel like have a lot of power in how we feel about the series as a whole as well, and I feel like that might be, I don't know, they're two very different things, and with 13 being your first one that you bought right when it came out.
Right. I was a fan of Final Fantasy, and I decided to buy that game right as soon as it came out, like you're saying. Exactly. There is a certain connection there as well. You're right.
But it's a very different setup, though. All the characters in there are very strong. They're very... You might not like them, but they have very built personalities, and they do evolve over time. But I don't know. It's interesting that they did that kind of a switch almost.
See, Bainjram has said a similar thing, and I think I quoted him a couple times on it, where it was projecting your ideal girl onto Renoa.
Yeah, that's why Bainjram loves 8 so much, is because of that.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. I think Batman has a good point here. Like, really, like, looking back, that's however you see Renoa is probably... I would say the same thing for Eris as well.
Yeah, she doesn't...
Eris has more of a personality than Renoa, but it is kind of a similar sort of a...
passive kind of...
Yeah.
No, Renoa's not quite so passive. She does do some things that she wants to, but Aerith...
It's like, you wouldn't project someone else onto Tifa.
No, it's not. It doesn't work that way.
Because Tifa is Tifa, whether or not she is exploited in her own way, she has character.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think Eris, and I know that's going against a lot of people there, and I think Eris and Renoa, because they are blank slates, as a male player, especially a young male player, you could easily project whoever's taking your fancy at the moment onto that.
Well,
character.
would you feel that way about Yuna in FF10?
No,
for most of the game.
That way about Yuna in FF10.
For some of the game, you can kind of see until you find out exactly what she's doing.
Yuna, I think she's the hero of FF10.
Well, she is the protagonist, as we've talked about.
I think she's very... No, I think Yuna does have character.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
See, I found myself projecting...
She's subdued, but I don't project upon Yuna myself.
You don't think so? Maybe it's just because I was interested in a girl that looks oddly similar to Yuna. Maybe that's why I did that at the time. But
see, it's all about like brunette love.
It is, man. Those brunettes have got it going on. All right, let's see what everybody else says.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
So
I enjoyed that question.
But do you have a let's see, what was the other part of the question?
Oh, emotional. What? Like, how does emotional connection apply to your enjoyment of FF game? This time around, it hasn't really applied as much.
Is it because you're in like an emotionless state? Or is it just you're not experiencing the same sort of
I'm not experiencing the game in the same way.
And it's also, I mean, FF8 is, it's a teen-rated game. It's supposed to be, it's meant to be played by that audience. So I feel like, I don't know.
Most of these games are.
Yeah, for the most part.
That might have something to do with it.
But that also could be why. Oh, yeah, fuck, that's good. All right, so Shinra says, I've gotten emotional at just about every main series FF game. Not surprised. So he thinks it plays a big part in how he views the games overall.
Yeah, I agree. I think, 10 affecting me emotionally at the end of 10, I think probably makes me rate 10 way higher.
Yeah, 10 really pulls on the heartstrings at the end.
Yeah.
And most everyone's agreeing that there is a lot of emotion, and it does tie into how you view the games. Even as an emotionless kind of a man that I am, there are parts in these games that I do get a little broken up over.
So
that's when I know it's powerful.
So we got some corrections to get to, Schweiss. This is rare, right? This is rare. Actually, it's not rare that we're wrong.
It's rare that we acknowledge.
It's rare that people correct us. I would like to say that.
All right, well, let's get into those. But first, we will speak to the Twitch. See if you guys have any questions.
Favorite Chocobo and why?
The black Chocobo.
I think good old yellow Chocobo.
I like the black Chocobo because you can do whatever you want with them.
It's sentimental. Sorry. Purple Chocobo was the one that flies, right? 5? That's what I'm thinking of. Or one of the 2D ones.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Pokemon is a good series. Joe's played very little of it, though.
I've played 0.
Oh, okay. That's very, very little. Mega Man, those are supposed to be a lot of fun, but I've never really played them. I don't know. Jake,
I've tried to play them, and they're pretty tough. And I'm really bad at platformers, so
that's a recipe for disaster.
Yep, that's exactly what that is.
That's unfortunate.
Oh. You want to open up the correction?
Yeah.
We'll post a jingle in there. I imagine it being like correction, and then like a trumpet going.
All right, that sounds pretty legit.
All right.
You ready to get into it?
Yeah.
All right, so this correction was submitted by Pixel Edged. On this week's episode, you were thinking to play...
It also affected some iTunes reviews?
Oh, yes, it fucking did. You were thinking to play FF Tactics on Wii U or PSP, but they are totally different games, which I know. I just fucked up. The Wii U version is the Game Boy Advance, the one with judges. The first Final Fantasy Tactics is on PS1 as a disc, PS3, PSP, PS Vita TV, through PSN. There's also a remake on PSP called Final Fantasy Tactics: The War of the Lions,
which is the version we will play.
And that is the one we're going to play because we know it's a pure, beautiful format. This version is also on PSN, which can be played on the PSP, Vita, PlayStation TV.
Okay.
It's also on mobile. Just to clear that up, if you started planning to get a Wii U for it. We weren't,
and I don't remember that being the conversation, but maybe we just had slips of the tongue.
Maybe. I don't remember ever wanting to get a Wii U in my life, so other than maybe we need it. Oh, no, we might have said that. Might have said we need one for Nude Clan or something like that.
Yeah, we need a Wii U for Nude Clan.
Not necessarily for this, but fuck it.
No, unless they put a Final Fantasy game only on Wii U, which I will murder Square if they do that. But yeah, thanks for the correction. I didn't realize what we were talking about. So I guess what we said was that I guess what we sounded like we were trying to say was that we were going to get a Wii U to play Tactics on.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
not going to happen, but thank you for letting us know. Thanks for the corrections.
By the way, there is a section, like someone said, like a new segment could be Ultimate Corrections, and I'm like, we have a corrections part of the forum.
We do, yeah.
So that we can talk about it on the show. It's just no one utilizes it, so Thanks for utilizing it.
Yeah, thanks a lot. That's really good.
We don't want to be wrong, but we are human, and we don't write down the episodes before we have a discussion. Sometimes we do some research to, like, when we talk about a certain segment, like you did research today about Mythic Origins of the Summons, but then we have a conversation, and because it's a conversation and it's not a fucking dictionary, we will sometimes get things wrong, but we are willing to correct them. You just have to tell us if we did get it wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, it's always good to know.
And it's usually on accident. I don't think it's usually on purpose. But
well, I would hope we're not just
like the Fusoya Tella mix-up. Come on. Come on.
That's not viable to you?
As a correction,
they're two different characters, two different games.
It's a slip up, and they're both old men characters.
Old men
in games that are right next to each other on the series.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. This might be coming from someone that played 4 when it came out, and then 5 when it came out 10 million years later on PS1.
No,
who knows? Maybe that's why it's easier.
Anyway, thanks for the correction. What's next? iTunes?
Yeah, we do have a few reviews. Let's get into those. This is going to be fun.
Okay.
iTunes.
Alright, so you ready to get rocked here?
Well, let's save the good one for last.
Okay.
Alright, someone who, by the way, gave us the correction gave us a very nice review.
Oh, that's the same person? Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
But first, let's get into our... is this US or UK?
UK. This is a UK reviews.
All right. So this says an Ultima Final Fantasy podcast review. This is a 3-star review from Final Fantasy fan number 17.
Oh.
Solid podcast and relatively enjoyable. Unfortunately, the claim that it is the ultimate Final Fantasy podcast implies an element of expertise, which is unfortunately false.
Ooh.
I want to get into this, but
okay.
I'll wait. They know many things and have put many hours into most of the games and a lot of work into the podcast, which is heavily to their credit. However, they are far from experts on the subject and often get mixed up. This is especially evident when it comes to FF9, which they rushed through and didn't fairly review.
Okay.
I think we did rank it 4th. That's pretty high. Is that fair?
The review episode, though.
Yeah, the review is a little shabby, but I think we had shabbier ones, like 1, 2, and 3, I think are much shabbier reviews than FF9's.
Maybe.
Whatever. Okay. They all but totally overlook the game for many questions on the series and sometimes simply get details wrong. This fact, unfortunately, leads to an unfair and skewed review of the whole series. Nevertheless, despite their success also being partly down to a lack of competition, they are entertaining and easy to listen to, therefore a worthwhile podcast to listen to for any Final Fantasy fans, as long as they take their reviews with a pinch of salt.
Okay. Well, we are going to take this with a pinch of salt.
Okay.
I mean, you do bring some good points. We did rush through FF9, and we do get mixed up occasionally. But there's a lot of shit out there, so I'm not going to get too butthurt about saying that we do get mixed up, because we do. And
this game series has 40-something games in it, and we have now played and beaten 14.5 of the games. I would call Interlude the 0.5.
Okay.
Or maybe a 0.1. But look, like, we call ourselves the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast because there's no other podcast that has come out yet that will ever go into the series as detailed as we will.
Yeah, even if we fuck up,
that we have,
even with 9, even with the black sheep that 9 is on our
and we've
reviews.
revisited so many things about 9. There's 2 episodes about 9 that came out about Necron and the Necron theory.
Yeah, those
are extra Final Fantasy 9 stuff.
But I will accept that.
Yeah, I accept the criticism. I do think we are the Ultimate Final Fantasy podcast, and we generally try to stick to games that we've known about, like that
Yeah, it's when we
have a good knowledge of that we've already played through on the series. That's why we're not having special episodes about FF Tactics, because neither of us have played FF Tactics enough.
Yeah,
and obviously we had that slip up about what was on what. Okay, I'll just calm down.
All right, well, I agree.
Thank you for the review.
No, I think that's a great review. I mean, there are times where we do slip up.
I'll take criticism.
And I think we deserve to be criticized for it. And I've always felt that after the FF9 episode, I was disappointed in what we did with that episode. I was, right after we did it. I was like, geez, dude. After the first half got done, I was like, dude, I don't know about this. Like, it just feels off. And now we're finally getting some shit
I think it is a more detailed review on FF9 than anything else on the internet.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Audio.
Except maybe a fucking Let's Play.
Yeah? I don't know. I don't know if I'd go that far. But anyway, thank you for the review.
Fine one.
We really do appreciate the critical aspects of it. We always want to improve, so.
Yeah, there's issues with FF9, and we've already apologized for the FF9 review. And, well, like we were going to talk about today, about us rushing through shit, right?
Yeah.
So someone posted that they hope that Nude Clan didn't get in the way of this podcast.
Well, that was a review, but...
Yeah, that was that a review?
Yeah, we'll get to it when we get there. But first, I'm going to read the second review from the UK.
No.
Come on.
Do the other bad review first. I want to end.
Do the other bad review first?
Yeah, let's do the other bad review. Actually, that wasn't a bad review. That was these guys are entertaining enough to listen to, but sometimes they slip up. So I'll take it. I'll take it fairly. And I sound like such a fuck when I'm talking about this. So.
Yeah. All right. So this one is a 2-star review from the US. This one's from Ryan Payne. He really brings the pain with this. I have listened to the podcast for a while now and keep coming back because I really want to enjoy it. However, inevitably, there will come a point in an episode where something objectively wrong is stated with such certainty that it leaves me stunned. For example, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance is coming to Wii U. Oh, I think I'll be playing the War of the Lions because it's the best version of the game. Those are two completely different things. On a podcast exclusively about Final Fantasy, you would think you would know that. Another, I didn't use Amaranth because I already have Zidane, who is a thief dude, and Amaranth has steely thief stuff. Now, I know that's fucking wrong, so you got me there. Amaranth has no...
I don't remember this.
I said it. Amaranth has no steely thief stuff. He was a monk that beat people up with his fists. Your chat tried to correct you, but I was mostly ignored. It was mostly sorry. Ignored. You really need to level up in Final Fantasy IX. That game can easily be beaten at a low level, because the reality is that you gain most of your strength through your equipment. Level 1 Ozma fighting is something that is doable. The FF11 stuff bothered me a bit, because you guys didn't even really scratch the surface of what that game is. Or was, but I can forgive that because the format of the show and the fact that the game is very different now to what it once was. I personally would have left the MMOs out, but I can understand why you included them. I will continue to try to listen through the episodes, and I'm hoping I can make it through them because you do have some interesting points and perspectives.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, there is a corrections place in the forums, and I would ask that you put the corrections down so that we could talk about them on the next episode.
No, please do. We don't want to like shut out any sort of fuck ups that we do.
And these corrections the corrections area of the forum have always been there.
Yes.
And people just, I think I remember one other time that they've used them.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't even know with the Wii U thing if we even really mixed it up. I was just thinking at that time of wondering which version of Tactics you were going to play. I don't even know if it's connected. But even if it was, it is us talking about a game we haven't gotten to yet, and I'll take blame for that, and definitely for the Amaranth thing. There's no reason. I didn't use the fucking guy, but he's definitely not a thief, and we haven't played through 9. You're totally right. That was the first time I played through it.
I've only played through 9 twice, and I gotta say that I've never explored other shit with 9, and this podcast it's a retrospective-y type thing, and I'm not going to replay Final Fantasy 9 16 times to figure out exactly how to use it.
No, and I mean you got a good point with 11. We did barely scratch the surface, but we didn't want to be a Final Fantasy 11 podcast. We want to be a Final Fantasy podcast, so I'm glad you didn't dock us for that.
So it has to be within the context of the series as a whole.
Yeah, and I was on the bandwagon.
In our
of
opinion,
not doing the MMOs myself, but I'm glad I gave into that, and we at least went through the main story. So yeah, thanks for the review. Hopefully you keep trying, and maybe one day we'll meet the expectation that is set forth.
There's some Nobuo Uematsu episodes that are being planned. That
hope to God we don't say one fucking thing wrong that time, and then we can have the peer episode that they deserve.
All right, just teasing a little bit. It'll be like a couple months, but
all right.
Still.
I'm pretty pumped for that.
All right, so we got a couple 5 stars.
Oh, thank God.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for helping out the average. In fact, this is what I encourage. A good star rating, that'd be nice. And then a very lengthy list of everything we do wrong.
No, I love that. I love that you guys do that with the ones that you rock us on. Although the humor in the one that was Joe is clearly a bottom is classic. But we don't actually get anything from that. We're not like, oh, you know what? Maybe we should reevaluate.
Yeah, exactly. Like, maybe Joe should be on top.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think Joe should be on top ever, okay?
I don't think so either.
I don't want to look up to that, so I don't know. But we love the deep criticisms.
All right. So this is from Unholy Kai, almost as sexy as Beatrix.
Oh man,
5 stars. The hosts of this show are a couple of fun-loving nerds just like me. Hey, don't call me a nerd. No, I'm kidding. I haven't played every Final Fantasy game, but I played most of them, and I agree with most of their opinions on them. The podcast is well-produced, entertaining, and even funny.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Thanks. I'm tempted to give a 1-star review because I know it will provoke a great rant from Joe. You know, unfortunately, even 3-star reviews cause a rant, and I didn't want to today, but of course it happened. But I can't bring myself to give these guys less than 5. This podcast is perfect for anyone who is or was a fan of Final Fantasy. If I could buy Caleb a beer, I definitely would. Great work, guys. Where's my beer? Keep it up.
So you're not alcoholic enough for the beer?
No, I guess not.
All right, well, hell, thanks. It's really awesome. All right, so we do have one from Pixel Edged, who also submitted our correction this week. So thank you for all of this, titled The Best Final Fantasy Podcast. I have been listening to UFF for months now, and as a fan of Final Fantasy, JRPGs, or even gaming in general, I highly recommend them. They have gone through all the main series Final Fantasy games with extensive review episodes, and while they complete the next game, they have in between episodes that are just entertaining. And they're not done.
Never.
As the time of writing,
never done.
As the time of writing this review, they have started to review all of the spin-offs and sequel Final Fantasy games too.
Just the sequels, right?
Yeah, right now. But very true. We will get to those. As a review, it would only be fair to point out flaws as well as the above positives. But the hosts, Joe and Caleb, are very motivated and always evolving in ways to better their product. You can easily tell by listening to the first few episodes and the latest in comparison. If you do like their style of podcasting, they also have other shows too. They're constantly updated an active website and forum. They stream on Twitch and have a YouTube channel too. Enjoy the grind, Caleb. 5 stars out of 5. Review by Pixel Edged on the UFF.
There you go.
And I guess it wasn't a review.
Okay. Well, no, I think it was something on the forum. So someone was concerned about
Ultima taking a back seat to Nude Clan, which is something that we've probably caused by saying that we want Nude Clan to be like the big show. What we mean by that is that it's video games. It's a very broad subject. For Ultima Final Fantasy, we want to keep pristine. We want to keep Final Fantasy or should have been or could have been in spin-offs. Whereas Nude Clan, we have a wide range of games we can play.
We have the entirety of games.
Right, and because of that,
we have games, period.
Yeah, Nude Clan can be an eternal show.
Right. So the idea is that Nude Clan just is our podcast. And so that means that, like, if we want to sell advertising or something, it goes on Nude Clan. It doesn't go here on Ultima Final Fantasy, which is supported by Patreon supporters.
Yes.
And I don't want to put advertisements on here unless, like, there's like a lot of zeros or something. Like, there's a keeping this show small and pure is kind of cool. but Nude Clan is the commercial thing. Like, this is Schindler's List, and Nude Clan is Jurassic Park, and it's 1993, and we're Spielberg.
Okay.
That's big praise coming from me.
Wow.
Okay, do you get what I mean, though, right?
No, I understand, and I wouldn't be too worried about it. I mean, honestly, I don't want to lose any sort of dedication to Ultima Final Fantasy, and I feel like it's just as strong as it was on day one, and maybe even stronger.
I think it's much stronger than it was on day one. And I think we do have moments when we go up and down in quality, usually based on the game that we're playing at the time. Like through the Final Fantasy 14 time, I think that was kind of a rough time for the podcast, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Because what we were talking about may not have appealed to every Final Fantasy player, because we were talking about Final Fantasy 14 so much. But at the same time, I think the Final Fantasy 14 people were probably satiated by that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
don't be concerned. This is still our main show, obviously. It's the one that everyone listens to, and it's the one that we put countless hours of work into. And
here's how we make sure that this podcast always is the highest quality that we can do. We record this podcast first. So our energy is all in Ultima Final Fantasy, and then we bring in more people with Nude Clan, and that adds energy to Nude Clan.
Yeah.
If we had done Nude Clan in the morning and then did Final Fantasy later, like that would affect this show.
Yeah, and you can see it with Super Sexy as of late, because when I record that fucker, I've been recording for like hours and hours, and I'm tired as hell, and I'm just like,
well, the drops.
I stutter all the time.
Drops help, I think.
The drops do
help. Add a lot of energy, and Jake adds a lot of energy, so.
But yeah, that's another great point, and I wouldn't be too worried about it. I mean, we're going to finish After Years in about a month, and not from now, but a month total. We're not trying to rush necessarily, but we want to make sure that we're coming out with review episodes, because that's what the premise of the show is to play the games, to finish the games. And Nude Clan is just...
But if we rush it, it's going to be another FF9, so you can't...
Yeah, we don't want to rush it too much. I mean, if we had a review a week, that'd be nuts. But we do want to get those episodes out, because that is the premise of the show. The premise isn't the mythic origins of the summons. Those are a lot of fun to learn about, but those are more supplemental to the review episodes.
Yeah, I get that.
And I don't know.
I think they're almost as important.
I think
especially the spotlights.
Don't sweat it, because this is just Joe and I. In Nude Clan, there's 4 of us. So we've got all this work spaced out. This, we have to really refine and keep pure. And I think you shouldn't be too worried.
I mean, besides the forums, they're all together.
Yeah, those are all combined. Not pure.
But technically this is still the big show. So
oh, it's crushing everything else by far. So
yeah, but it's got the audience build up, and it's great.
Yeah, and that's why neglecting it would be horrifyingly bad of us, because we've worked for almost 2 years on this show, and to drop it now it'd be
stupid.
It'd be really stupid, and it would be a waste of our time.
Yeah,
it really would, because if we're not going to see it through, then we might as well have not done it in the first place.
All right, well, do we have a question from us to you?
Yeah, I think so. We got responses from the last one. That's for damn sure.
Okay. Do we have responses? What do you mean by responses from the last one?
The last question from us to you.
Oh.
You fuck. Tactics War of the Lions is amazing. Yeah.
Just slow on PSP? That sounds bad.
That FF9 Butthurt fan review. Yeah, but they do have some great points. It's not a big deal. We'll just take it humbly and make them feel like shit.
Well, I'm butthurt, and I hate it when I sound that way on the thing, but it just comes out. There's no way. There's no way to stop my jackassery in the middle of the show.
Yeah. Joe cannot be regulated.
Back in the early days, we used to, cut out sections where I said something stupid. And,
what is this fucking we?
I said... just barely.
I swear to God, you just said we.
I said when I said something stupid.
Yeah, we would cut out.
Cut out.
We didn't cut shit. So I look like an asshole in the early ones, is what you're saying, and you're like this fucking god figure, and I'm just this peon motherfucker that just says shit and is wrong.
If that weren't the dynamic.
Oh, fuck off.
What's...
Oh, that's classic. All right, let's check out these questions from us to you here.
That'd be...
Oh, God.
Under questions. And then questions from us to you.
You gotta lead me through it like an old man.
Questions.
Open the browser.
We're at it. Jesus Christ.
Oh, I don't see it. I don't see it.
God, you went to the links around it. Fuck. You blind ass motherfucker. Okay.
Oh man, this is an interesting fucking thing.
Oh fuck, we're gonna have to tally it.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we are.
I have a great way.
No.
Dude.
Tally.
There's no tally. They both vote for both of us half the time. Everyone does.
We'll see.
But I think here's what we should do.
We should talk about this on the show and not talk
All right,
about it.
let's jump into it then.
Do you have a question though?
Yeah, I think I have a question. I do. Yeah.
You're scaring me.
Don't worry, it's fine.
Is it actually Final Fantasy
You're
related?
being voted off the island.
Or
no,
is
I'm
it
kidding.
host related?
No, it's Final Fantasy related.
Okay. Alright.
Alright, you good?
Yeah.
Oh wait, shit, let me pull up the thing.
I'm good as soon as you are.
Oh, I'm
You ready?
I'm never good, apparently. Never good enough.
Well, let me ask some people.
Oh, fuck off. Alright, so last week we asked the very debated and very detailed question of how should we rank the sequels in regards to the series as a whole. Joe's option was rank them with all the Final Fantasy games, have this bullshit list that goes on forever and ever, and mine was rank them only with other sequels. Let's see what everybody said. Salamander says, I don't think you should rank the sequels with the games. They should get their own ranking. That being said, is ranking them separately and with the main series out of the question? No, and I think that's interesting. Gammon Stark says, I like the idea of ranking them separately, but maybe the question could be asked if it would land in the top, middle, or bottom third of the main game list. That's an interesting way to put it, but if we were to say that, we'd definitely get people asking, where?
Alright, so I got one for sequels, one for both.
Yes, Shenmue for both.
Okay.
Do first a sequel prequel ranking and then do the main game ranking with the added sequel prequel title in it, and that I really like.
So we do the main game ranking like at the end of the season?
Yeah, that's the pure thing, and then we rank the series of games within the series. So we'd rank 4 with 4 of the After Years and 4 against 13 with 13-2, 13-3.
Okay.
Now, this would still be a separate ranking, but it would be a ranking of all the conglomerates.
The
within.
ranks!
I like that idea.
It's a rank fuck. It's a ranker fuck.
So Fruff says, I vote option 3. If we're going to do a podcast, if he was going to do a podcast, I would play the spin-off games and give a review and opinion on them, but would not put them in any sort of ranking. The only thing you would do is mention a spin-off game, would put a rank of the top 5.
He wouldn't.
Yeah.
He wouldn't rank. Okay, I'm going to not.
So he wants to do top 5 Final Fantasy games. So like if Tactics made it into the top 5, we'd put it up there.
Okay.
Let's see. Gabrant.
That's a no, Fruff, but...
Yeah, Gabrant says he agrees with Shinru. Probably do both types. He's mentioned this before, and this is how he views it. 13 should be judged as a trilogy. As far as the story goes, he still thinks each can be rated as a separate game for other purposes like gameplay, graphics, etc. But he feels like this also applies to 11 and 14 since their content is all under one roof. And yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of that. Let's see. This Q
right.
Dizzy
Q Dizzy's a new podcast or a new forum member, so thank you. Welcome.
Thinks the idea of ranking the sequels amongst themselves is the best option given and should be done. This treats them as their own game, their own category, away from main games and spin-offs, which is warranted. However, he does think it'd be interesting to know how our rankings of the main series, considering the sequels as a continuation of the base series. So he's all on board.
So he's with sequels and with series, but not ranking it with the main series as well.
He's with ranking it as like a conglomerate of the Final Fantasy IV series.
Chocobo Chica says do both 1 and 2. Okay.
And like Shinru's,
if I had to choose one, I would say rank sequels, prequels as one with the games. There we go. One for me. There we go. One.
Well, I think he says he adds DLC in here, so he thinks they should add it to the existing game. So that's the hybrid one. Cloud says he votes option 1. Option 2 is flawed in his opinion. Blah, blah, blah. Just because the sequels vary so much in quality, some of them really are better than main series games like FF Tactics.
So that's
otherwise known as FF Tactics War of the Lions. Thank you.
Option 1 is me, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of them barely count as games. Interlude is a cash grab, not a game, in all honesty.
Okay.
I don't think the varying in quality is really a valid point. If the game's good, we shouldn't socialize the quality of the Final Fantasy spin-offs. If they suck, they suck. If they're good, they're good. You get one or the other. We shouldn't separate them just because they're so vastly different in quality.
Eyes on Me says I have to agree with both Shinru and Salamander's ranking idea. There you go.
All right, sequels with other games in the saga.
So
corresponding main title. That's the new one.
So is that both or is that?
In that saga,
that's only with series.
Yep. Fuck, dude. Okay. Separate rankings, says Batman.
That's from Del Rey Pete. Separate rankings from Okay, wait. Only separate?
I would curious to see how each game stacks against each other, prequels and sequels, but also where you'd rank them amongst the main series games. So
he voted for all.
Yeah, both. Yeah. All right, so sequels and side stories are still part of the main series lore, so I would do sequels and the main games together and then spin-offs on their own list. Then maybe do a list with all of them at the very end, reviewing all of the games. I don't see a problem with doing that at the very end, but I just don't want to do it every single time.
Okay.
What's the final verdict?
Okay, so for option number 2, which is Caleb's option of ranking sequels only with themselves, 2 votes. 2 solid votes for that. As well as my option, there's 2 solid votes for ranking them all together.
Just all together.
Just all together.
Fuck.
So there's two for that. Then we have 7 votes for an option that wasn't there, which was to do both rank it amongst the sequels and also to rank it with the rest of the series.
Those games associated.
Do both.
Okay.
And then games associated, so all the 13 games, all the 4 games with each other, that's that also has 6 votes.
Okay.
So our winner is to just do fucking both lists.
All right, and I don't mind doing the other list too.
I don't either. And
I think it's a great idea, actually.
After years, that'll be it for Final Fantasy IV, so we can do that. That's not a big deal.
But the thing is, guys, is the main list still remains pure. That is the main series list, and all these other things are just extras.
Okay. So this is what we're going to do. At the end of our review episodes for sequels, we will rank them within sequels, and at the end of the sequels season, at the end of season 2, we will rank all the sequels with the games that we've already played.
Okay, yeah.
Okay?
We can do that. We can have a big wrap-up where we do all of the lists, essentially.
Yep.
That won't be a problem.
Yep.
That's interesting that our question turned into let's do this other guy's option, but I'm totally for it. It's great.
Okay.
All right, so my question for you guys this week. I've been wanting to do, I know I saw something on the forums about a drinking game associated with Final Fantasy. Now,
God.
what film? I want to do a live stream of us watching a Final Fantasy movie, or a movie's worth of episodes of Final Fantasy Unlimited.
That 4 episodes of Unlimited?
Yes.
We haven't done
with a drinking game
commentaries since
I think
7.
That would be a great way to catch us up on the commentaries, is doing it while drinking to certain key phrases like the Magan has thawed, or any of the phrases that are mentioned in the thing, the one kukurudu chick, or the mist guy, that we could do all sorts of shit. So what piece of Final Fantasy media would you guys want us to do a drinking game with and stream it?
Oh God.
I don't know when we'll do it. It's probably going to be maybe over spring break, so in a couple weeks.
Of course it's over spring break.
And I think that would be a blast, and I want to know what you guys want us to do, and then we can start trying to form our own bullshit criteria for getting trashed while watching this thing and streaming it for you guys. So
oh God.
You like that?
Oh God. All right, that's your question then.
Yes.
Does that wrap up this episode of Ultima Final Fantasy?
You know what? I believe it does.
All right, guys, check us out on YouTube, Facebook. You know where to go. Twitch.tv/Ultima Final Fantasy. Patreon, support us there. Thank you for our Patreon donors. Twitter @UFF Podcast and @Joseph DeGollier. That's DEGOLYER. And of course, join our forums. We'll see you guys next week.
Yes, and as always, enjoy the grind.
This has been another production of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast. The show was produced by Joseph DeGollier and Caleb Schweiss, with music and editing by Joseph DeGollier, parodies and clips from their respective authors, of course. You can get all of our episodes as well as our Let's Plays at ultimafinalfantasy.com. You can also contact us on Twitter @UFF Podcast, as well as our contact page on our website. Be sure to subscribe and review our podcast. Your reviews may get read on the show, and look forward to the next episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast.
Oh yeah, so good. All right.
I think I cut you off.
No, it's fine. It was a nothing comment anyway. All right, let's wrap up the Twitch. Holy shit. My
picture
face.
of you.
Okay.
Power bottom.
Have we tried Explorers yet? No, we haven't yet. We're not going to touch it until the time comes. Keep it unknown as much as we can. Obviously, we've reported on some news and stuff.
Yeah, that is FF Explorers is
a little ways away.
It's spin-offs that are by themselves.
Yeah.
Which is further along.
Oh, Gabrant disagrees with the 14. He thinks it was a good time for the audience, though, because of the great interaction with us.
Okay. Well, yeah, we did get a lot of audience interaction, but
it wasn't necessarily good for the mainstream podcast
The
audience.
podcast actually had kind of a noticeable dip in listenership.
Yeah.
And then when we were done with 14, it went back up.
Very true.
And it's like, okay, I guess they just don't want to hear about 14. I liked it. I thought we did a good job on the in-between episodes, but whatever.
Oh, also, hello, Stormbringer from Scotland. Rank them on good to bad instead of best to worst? Isn't that the same thing? No, actually, no, it doesn't have to be, because then we don't have to... We could maybe do like a line diagram of like little things. Yeah, there's like this dot's for this game, this dot's for this game, and it's like here's the shit.
That's too much work. It's too much work. I don't mind ranking them.
All right, well, shoot, guys. Thanks for everybody who followed us today, and I will be back on probably Sunday. I know it's Valentine's Day, and I got a lot of shit I need to do, but I'll try to do another chapter for Final Fantasy 4, the After Years. I think I got time for one more couple hours. So.
All right, we'll try that.
Until then, guys, thanks for stopping by, and enjoy your weekends, and obviously grind.